let everyone in. Okay, sure. Okay, so we are recording now.
So for some reason the meeting language has changed to Danish. I'm gonna blame Jacob for this.
Hi, everyone. We are going to kick off here in just a couple of minutes. We are just waiting for the last people to join the lobby here, and we will get started. Okay, guys, we might get kick started here. Firstly, a big welcome to everyone who has joined us today. We have an exciting presentation coming up here with regards to the strategy to execution, transform project management with AI. I think we've got some exciting speakers, and it's a great partnership here that we're seeing with Storm Technology and the Ireland chapter of PMI for this presentation. I myself is the VP of the Ireland chapter of PMI, and I will introduce the others speakers. I'll just get these people in. We'll get started. So quick agenda here, we'll just do some introductions and then we'll get into the impact of AI and then uncovering Microsoft AI. Sorry, the slides are moving on me automatically here. Uncovering Microsoft AI, ChatGPT and Copilot, AI use cases in PPM, and then we will have a question and answer at the end. So if everyone can put in their questions into the chat, that would be much appreciated, and we will take a look at that at the end. So we'll jump on here. Today's webinar is brought to you in collaboration with Storm Technology, one of Ireland's leading business technology consultancies. Founded in 1995, Storm Technology is a dedicated Microsoft solutions partner with over 25 years of experience driving business growth through digital transformation. Delivering solution and service excellence underpinned by the future-ready data architecture. Storm helps clients across both the public and private sector to scale and drive business impact. An ISO 27001 and an ISO 9001 certified company, Storm places an emphasis on the highest standards of solution quality and information security. So over to some introductions. So we'll have Malik Al-Shaib, Principal PPM Consultant of Storm Technology, with over 13 years of experience building tailored project management solutions for many leading Irish brands across various industries, passionate about the transformative power of technology, in particular AI. Malik helps clients to find the right fit project management solution for their unique business needs to ensure maximum return on technology investment. And we have Jacob Hansen, Director of Partner Channel, Projectum, with almost 25 years of experience in project and portfolio management, including Head of PMO at Lego Group and Project and Portfolio Manager for the Danfoss Group. Jacob Hansen advises and inspires clients to build a roadmap for PPM journey aligned with digital transformation and AI strategy. For the last 15 years, Jacob has been a speaker at international conferences for the PMI and Microsoft, sharing his experience in the world of PPM. So I'll hand it over to Malik to take us through the next phase.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Malik. Thank you for joining us today. In my portion of the webinar today, I'm going to take you through 4 slides, just cover a little bit of history of AI, a bit of context, and we'll keep honing in into take it from AI where it started all the way down to AI and project management, PPM and SPM. So as we know, AI is not really a new concept. It's been knocking around since the mid 50s. It started as this discipline of research that wanted to create machine that can mimic or surpass a human intelligence. Throughout its history, from where it started up until today, where we are now, it went through a couple of milestones. I'm just going to cover some of those milestones. The notable milestone was the machine learning book by Tom Mitchell, published that year, and it is regarded as one of the cornerstones in how we look at AI and how AI is shaped, and how AI is shaped for the time being. It contained things like the concepts, the decision tree learning, artificial neural network, etc., etc. The second milestone, one of those big milestones, was in 2012, where deep learning as a subset of machine learning came into light. And what that allowed us to do is to switch from structured data learning for our machines into unstructured data learning for our machines. So our machines now can learn from a library of documents, not just tables and structured information that we have or we are store in our environments. And that takes us to the generative AI as we kind of know it now in 2021, where we can create new written or even generate images and multimedia. So by definition, the generative AI refers to capability where we can generate those information from the data that is stored on the internet or whatever model that the data that we're learning from. So that takes us to the last couple of years, and those are kind of the big 2 years. So 2023. If we can move on to the next slide, please, Daniel. So we have 2023, 2024, and the appearance of all those new models that they themselves and their technology are impressive and they can be considered as milestones. But more than that is how all of this become available to the end user. And it was kind of like opening the floodgates, and suddenly ChatGPT is available for a lot of people. And then Microsoft getting Copilot and rolling out a pilot. They get not only text, we get some things like DALL-E, which is basically just give it text, give you a picture, lovely stuff. All of those lovely AI models that are out there. Now, with that, obviously, Microsoft adopted Copilot, as you know, and Microsoft, with the technologies we're going to focus on today are Copilot, AI Builder, and Azure Open AI. Those are kind of the 3 main technologies that are going to form part of the use cases that we're going to see at a later on stage. So, of those 3 models, how they are enabling our SPM and PPM. The first one is the custom GPT, which is Azure OpenAI. And what that does is think of your current ChatGPT. I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask it a question about risk register. Give me top 10 risks for a construction project. And it will get me a list. This will be true, but it won't really make any sense maybe for my context. So what custom GPT does is give you answers that are relevant to your organization and more towards your project. So you take an example, following on the risk example, if I'm an Irish organization who is doing construction projects and oral projects happen in the city center of Dublin. So when I'm looking for risks there, my risks are, they will be specific to my use case scenario. So what this will do is it will give me an answer with the context of my data. Obviously, this will open a question of, is my data safe? Am I sharing my data with the AI? Am I sharing my data with the internet? If someone go and ask AI a question, is going to get them my data? And the answer simply is no. Your data is your data. What will happen to your data is it will form part of the query in a way, and it will effectively create it will contextualize the answer that is coming back. So instead of getting just top 10 risks in the whole model that AI is learning from, I'm getting top 10 risks that are relevant to my information. So that's the first enabler. Second enabler is chatbots and Copilot Studio. the best way to describe them is they're your little helper sitting there, and you can have a chat with those chatbots. And this can be something like, asking it a question. It could be straight status report, and you want to see the top 10 performing projects, or top 10 risks that you have currently. Or you could be in a meeting and someone have a great idea, and you want to create an idea that needs to go into our pipeline to look, it's an intake list, see if that idea can be converted to initiative and promote that later on. So you can just go to this chatbot, instead of opening a form and filling data and all of that, chatbot, create an idea for me, and we'll look at the list of the details later on. And the third enabler is the in-app AI boosters. And those are kind of, think of them a little bit more in the background, and they are built for the Power Platform. So they are low code, no code kind of boosters. And think of things like, if I want to automate my invoicing process. So we can build a booster that can monitor an inbox, for example, pick a form that is scanned from a PDF or whatever it is, take the data, translate that into our process, into our database, and get that through. So we don't need to go through the manual process of data entry of our forms. So this is obviously those are not designed just for PPM, but this is how, or like for project management solution, this is how or where some of project management, how you can use those. So if we can look at, what the PMI perspective and some of those use cases, I'm going to hone down a little bit more in details on how AI impacts PPM. So in the next slide, we're going to look at a report that kind of, not the whole report, but some snippets from the report that PMI have published. I would really recommend that you go to the PMI site, have a look at that report. Would be really, it's really, to make a really interesting read. However, the main insights from that report was 70% of people in that report that were asked in that report agreed that AI will have transformative effect on project management industry. 45 that state that reduce stress, and 78 cited automation of tasks are key benefits. And this all really comes from a place where project management and PPM solution were kind of privileged in a way that AI makes sense to us. As in, if you go to any project or to a project group project manager and say, if I can get you an assistant that can do things, it's really easy from top of our head to come up with 3, 4, 5 tasks. Say, here, if anyone can do this on my behalf, I'd be happy. So we kind of know what we are looking for, and some of the great ideas that we can come up with to make our life easier. So if you look at the graph that we are looking at here at left, we basically look at two axes, as in how complex the problem is or the task is, and who can do that and how that can be done. So if we start with things like taking meeting notes, it's not very complex task for a machine. It can be done, and we can fully automate that. Or if we're looking at like report generation, we know our schedule, we know our task, we have a baseline, we know what's on time, what's not on time. I have a risk register, I have an issue register, I have some other registers, other information related to my project. Telling AI to go look at all this data, generate a report for me is really not that challenge for AI as we know it for the time being. And then we progress to things that are a bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated, but AI can still assist us. So a really good example is create a cost or schedule estimate. So instead of us project manager go into whatever PPM solution we know and start a project, go into the schedule section of that project and create milestone, start, 0 duration, and start from that work to build our schedule. We can let AI assist us by giving it some context. It will create some form of work breakdown structure for us. So instead of starting from scratch, I'm starting from 50%, 40%, something that is there, make life easy. Of course, can do it like, risk analysis is one of those other examples that we were looking at. And then you have the really more advanced and more complicated tasks like, decision making and project business case creation. And with this, AI can help us. It is augmenting, so AI will help us in those kind of side tasks. So I can be writing a document or writing a project business case, and AI can help me with that, with the forming of that document, of my paragraphs, the words, etc., etc. So while it's not really doing the job, it's helping me with that. or decision making. I won't let AI make a decision for me, but I definitely would be happy for AI to provide me the information that I need to make the right decision. So effectively, what we're trying to do here, what AI would do for us, is take off some of those mundane, repetitive tasks that are just time consuming of the project manager hand, and allow them to do things that, or tasks that are more complicated, more value yielding tasks, and let them focus on a bigger picture items and be a little bit more strategic. And that will lead us to the next slide, where we're gonna cover some, like, the use cases. So if we kind of merge the last two slides together, so we're looking at something like an AI automation, where we can get the meeting note summary, generate a report, lessons learned summary. Those are kind of low to medium complexity for an AI model. Then we can let it assist us, create a schedule, risk analysis, large data set analysis, and this is where you can get OpenAI or Azure OpenAI even to get us this information. And last but not least is when we're looking at the AI augmentation, and that's where we can use Copilot and Azure OpenAI to help us with our decision making, or with creating a business case document based on things that we already have. So with that, I am going to hand over to Jacob. Jacob is going to we're going to show us some interesting use cases, and we'll catch up afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, where to start in the world of AI? I think at least let me start where probably everyone think it started. I'm just logged into chatgpt.com. It's today's date, and the first prompt is that something new is there, right? And that's the experience that you and me have. Tomorrow there's new, today, yesterday, everything is new, and every week I need to learn AI, but how AI for me, right? We are in the context of project portfolio management. And today, let's look at how we can utilize the AI platform by different technologies. Of course, we will talk a lot about Microsoft technology, but let me take you through the start of some of the new stuff. You can, of course, and probably 90% of you have tried the ChatGPT, go to the website, put in whatever you want, and then you start playing around with AI. It's a great place to start, but if you are a company, if you're a business, the first thing you need to put in mind is that protect your data. Because by being here on this website, I will not necessarily protect my questions and answers that I will be giving. The data will be available for learning models, etc. So you really need to think about where you play around and what you play around with. Because if I put all my business company data into this website, then hopefully you will still be alive somewhere, because the data could be utilized for things that you really don't like to do. So my first advice for you is actually go to bing.com. And yes, I have been a Google guy for the last 20 years. I've never used Microsoft Bing, probably you either, but now it's time to learn to use Microsoft Bing, because as we also just learned, is that you have a link up here being the Microsoft Bing and Microsoft Copilot. So now I am in Copilot land, and Copilot meaning that I am a Copilot together with AI. So instead of AI being autonomous and then just run whatever, I'm actually in charge and in control. And the first thing that is really important here is that you see the green icon up here, because I'm logged in with my business account. And I'm in a protected environment. That's the first step for protecting your own data, is to go to Bing, into the Copilot, be logged in with a business account. And this does not necessarily need a license, because you are in Bing, and it's actually a free kind of AI experience. Because if you look here, I have web and I have work. So if I click the web, I'm actually in a web context, still AI public, but in a protected environment, where if I go to the work area of Copilot, I'll now be, in this case, Projectum, with my account and with the license. So AI Copilot and Microsoft comes in different flavors without licenses and with licenses. Today, we're going to talk a hell lot about the licensing model, because the other thing, play around with it, go into Bing, and also with the new 4.0. It's amazing what will come up, probably already next week, also in the Microsoft Bing world. So that was the very fast introduction to be not afraid, my dear, but actually think of how you protect your data. Well, next step is, let's take it into a project management context. We learned about AI Builder from Malik, also the Copilot and the Azure AI. Let's start with the Copilot. What can I, as a project manager, use Copiloting for? First thing, I'm in Office 365. I'm not even in a PPM landscape. I'm an ordinary Office 365 user. And I have a project going on. And one of the great things that I just learned in a new application is if you go to Microsoft Forms, it's a part of Office 365. And probably you have tried also creating forms where you could ask anything in a form to any audience, and then you could get responses back. I just learned that you can actually use AI now in this. So if you're a project manager and you want to ask your project team about the project performance or any survey that you want in your project, you could actually draft a survey. And now I will just paste in here a prompt. Ask my project team about the project performance and how fun it is to work with me as a project manager. Because I want to present that for my steering committee. By generating, I will actually use the Copilot in a protected environment to create the form before I need to think about the questions to the form. It could also be questions that you put to the business users if you are a software developer. And just in less than 1 minute, it creates the form for you with all the questions in here. And if I think this is great, I can keep it. I could create even more questions, be more precise. Then I'll keep it. And then I could collect responses with one push of a button. I will now have started the collection of information around any topic subject in my project. It would be a great way to start using forms and actually not be that creative, because Copilot is creative for you. One way to use Copilot. Another great way to use Copilot is using Microsoft and the whiteboard capabilities. I'm still in Office 365. I'm logged in. And a new feature in here in Office 365 is the whiteboard. I think it's a great one because probably you have played around with Post-its in your projects, right? So what I could do with my whiteboard is actually I could work with my project participants and Copilot or project stakeholders to generate a whiteboard that could be for a workshop or whatever. And what I could do is here that I could suggest, in this case, I will use Copilot again. And then I could put in some kind of, I want to grow this webinar. Let's take today's demo as the webinar we are in. And I want to manage that as a project manager. I want to get inspiration. I want to do risk management on the webinar. I will put in, grow my webinar business with 20% from 100 participants online and gross profits of 100. I will ask Copilot a lot of ideas how I did to do it. So again, based on the prompt I put in, I will now get a lot of ideas, and then I say, okay, generate 6 more, right? And then this way now I have 12 ideas. I'll just keep pushing the button until I think, yeah, now I have, like in this case, 18 ideas. It will put them in as white, labels. And now I could start work. But what I also could do is that I could actually, with my Copilot, categorize them. So I will actually ask Copilot to categorize those instead of sitting with 18 different Post-its. Now it put it into a pricing strategy, to a data analytics thing, engagement enhancement, and marketing research. So this is, again, just a great way to use Copilot in your project delivery, in workshops. And again, you just share it up here. You share it with your project participants, and you can even put it into an email. And if you put it up into an email, when Malik received my email, he can see the Post-its live in the email. If I drag around those Post-its here, Malik can see in his email window that the Post-its are moving around. So it's really live objects, really nice for project collaboration. So 2 great tips to work in Office 365, not in a PPM application, we'll see that now, but just utilizing Office 365 co-piloting as you go along. So let's take it even closer to project management experience. I'll close down the windows and I will jump into Microsoft Power Platform. In Microsoft Power Platform, Projectum created Power PPM. Power PPM is a model-driven Power App. So we created a Power App for project portfolio managers, where you can work with your projects, with your portfolios, with your strategies. That's also due to the topic today, all the way from strategy all to project execution. This application, Power PPM, takes care of everything. But today I'm going to highlight pieces and bits of this application where we believe AI use cases will be beneficial for you. That might be as a project portfolio manager, it might be as a project manager, it might be as a project participant. So there will be different use cases. And I think I came up with 8 use cases today. Let's see how it goes. What can go wrong in a live demo? It's always challenging, but let's try to take it away. The first thing is, of course, I can also use Copilot in my PPM application. So before I was in Office 365, now I am in my project portfolio management system. So in here, I could start asking questions about my project portfolio system. So how many initiatives do I own? If I'm a project manager, I might have 1 project. Now, in this case, I have 22 initiatives. So actually, Copilot could serve you as an analytical assistant, where you can put any question up. Okay, then show me the list of the initiatives that I own. And then it lists a lot of them. I can show all on a page, and with 1 click, the system has filtered 22 initiatives on a page for me where I can start looking at it. So just a few clicks, Copilot actually being my daily assistant in actually using the system, filtering data and getting closer to what actually, I could also ask, show me the projects that I read in my portfolio, right? Show them on a list, and then I will know better about that data and I can start click around it. As you see here, there's a lot of test data in here. It's a demo environment where we play around, so don't be scared about the data. So that's Copilot in a PPM context. Well, I could also take it to the level of if I want to create a new objective, because today's topic is taking from strategy execution to project, right? So what can go wrong? Copilot did not know of it. So this is also learning models, and it needs to learn, of course, and probably also because I have a lot of not that great data in my system. But the intent is right now that if I'm a user of the system, and if I'm a company owner, so let's start it with being a company owner, I want to put in a strategy into my project portfolio system. So I will go to the menu, I will go to OKR and objectives, because in the OKR module, I can create different company strategies. That might be a product strategy. So the first thing I'm going to do here is that the strategy should be AI webinar next level. So let's use the scenario of today's topic. We're having a webinar, and I want to actually create a strategy for making a webinar. The description for the webinar, that is to grow my webinar business with 20% from 100 participants online and a gross profit of 100,000 euro. I think I would put Jacob on lead. I could also put Malik, but then he needs to work, so then he will be even more stressed. But it needs some attention because we are not really there yet. So if this is the ambition of my company, I want to realize it within the next, let's say, half a year. So I'll give it a start and end date. And now, with that metadata set up around my strategy, I could actually ask AI to create some proposal of how to grow my company within webinar. The technology behind right now is OpenAI technology. So that is where I actually put data to the web. It might be dangerous, so I know, of course, we need, but this is a design choice. I could also do it based on company data in Azure AI. So it's always a design choice. But today, I actually want to use the AI OpenAI because I want inspiration into my company how to do it. And as you see now, it came up with actually a proposal of increasing webinar participants by 20%, implement target marketing campaigns, and collaborate with industry influencers to promote webinar. It also came up with another key result, achieve 100 participants, so optimize registration landing page, etc. So I think you get the idea that if I have an ambition for my company, I could ask AI to actually help me doing it. So now there are two steps. Either I could start create a key result, meaning that now I'm gonna start measuring it. So as we see here, we want to have those 100 extra people participant. So I will create a new key result. I will give it the name, and I will actually start measuring it. So this is 100 people. So I will measure at number. Right now we have 0, and we want the target of 100 people additional. We're going to start somehow today, and before June something, we will end the measurement, because hopefully we will get more people registered to the webinar. I can go in and do my first registration. So I will do my first registration. We are today's date. We are at ground zero, so we have no performance yet. We are off track, and the first measurement in my graph will look like this. 0, because we're not started yet. What we're going to do now is that we need projects. That might be a marketing project. That might be create new AI content for a webinar. So I need some work to be done in my company before I can go from 100 for 0 to 100 participants. So in this demo today, I'm going to show you how I would ask people in my organization to come up with ideas. And those ideas might be create a new webinar. And once we plan a new webinar, maybe even with a new landing page, then we will actually be able to get more participants to the webinar. And then I could make a new registration in here, seeing that, okay, in the future, let's just play that we are now done with the marketing campaign. Then I could say, okay, in the future, we are in June. We are now at 90 participants. We are on track, save and close. And then I can actually start measuring the progress of my strategy. This is what OKR AI-driven could help you with. But now let's go to the front page, because we need new ideas coming in that actually could support us creating this, because I have no project doing it. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to opening up my virtual PMO assistant. It's Monday morning. I'm an ordinary company worker, and I have different services. So we created a virtual PMO assistant that could actually serve as a PMO assistant with different services. And as you see here, I can create ideas and projects from in here. I could ask about a project status report. I could ask the IT department about, hey, my printer is not working anymore. And I could also work with AI. If I work with AI from inside here, I could actually do it in a more controlled manner than to go with the OpenAI that we started this webinar with. So I could actually just say, okay, what are the stages in the PIM book? I don't know if you call it a knowledge area or stages or phases, whatever, because I'm pretty new project manager. So what I did here is actually I enabled AI to work on the PIM book in a control. So it could be the newest version of PIM book. I could have it as a PDF document. I could put it into my Office 365, and I could let this AI chat work on that content. I could also put company policies to it. If I'm not allowed to talk about war, sexual abuse, whatever kind of political themes as a company, then I could put that restriction to the AI chat, because that is what we want in a company. We want to do it in more controlled manner. So as a new product manager, I could learn the PIM book here, and I could chat around with it and learn if I had a twist of mythology, 80% PMI, 20% my own company mythologies. I could, of course, also upload that document of the 20% own business operation procedures. And then the chat would work around, when do I need to make the next status report? Probably by the 27th of this month. It is not told by PIMBOK that you need to do the 27th in the month. That's told by my company. So I think you get the idea that we will let AI be around here. Now, let's create an idea. So I have an idea for a new webinar. I go to the chat, I create an idea, and to create an idea, the chat will automatically assist me in all the questions needed. So I think I have a new webinar with the topic of Microsoft AI, technologies, and product portfolio management. The audience will be cool people interested in PMI methodology, and those are you. You are the cool people, and this is the AI system, right? Then once I put that description in, sorry, that was the name. Maybe I'm just a little too fast. Then you can see how fast I can do it. Again, what can go wrong in a live demo? Create an idea. New AI webinar 2.0. And then I'm allowed to paste in the description. Maybe I have a high level cost already in my head. Maybe I have a high level budget and or benefit. So the chat could assist me in putting those questions up. And once I have collected all necessary questions, I get a link, and now I'm ready with the idea. The idea is already created now. It's in the idea book. So what I can do now, maybe as a idea generator, a person, I could go in and put some more data onto it. Maybe it should be linked to the portfolio of 24 webinars. Maybe I have a start date, and maybe I have an end date for the webinar. And as you see, it has already now calculated return on investment, because the Power PPM system will actually start working on all that kind of data. I could also make a strategic fit. I could say, hey, this is to grow my company. So I would put more and more data onto it. But one of the next cool thing here is that a great idea might be a bad idea, or a bad idea might be an opportunity, might be threats. So what I could do is I could kick in an AI-driven SWOT analysis. So in this case, I hit the blue button, and with the description, with the budget, with the ROI, with the start and end, with all data available, I've now created a SWOT analysis. And as you see it here, there are some strengths, there are some weakness, limited reach to a specific audience interested in PMI methodology. Well, is that a weakness? I think I have 100 plus in this webinar, so at least I could maybe put that a little down in my weakness category. So I think you get the idea that AI can help you of being creative, and that's what this use case should demonstrate. It's actually sometimes it's hard to be creative. It's easy to be a project manager because we have methodologies and structures, but the creative part, AI could actually support me. Well, this idea needs to be rated against other ideas in the portfolio. So I will move this idea further in the process. I will go from capturing the idea. It has an ROI of 9. It's a great idea, but I need to rate it. So what I can do now is that I can jump to the portfolio of 24-25. And in the portfolio of 24-25, I have a lot of different ideas. You can also see I have a list of a lot of projects. These projects are already running in my portfolio. If I look at the roadmap of my portfolio, you will see a hell lot of projects going on, start end dates, there are dependencies between all the projects, there are project managers assigned here in the owner column. But the interesting part here is to start look at the ideas coming into my portfolio. And if I look to the very left, I see incoming ideas. If I look to the very right, I see ideas that have already been rated. So of course I could re-rate by drag and drop those ideas. I could also take our new webinar and drag it into a 3-star rating, because I think this is the most important one. I could also go to an impact assessment and say, okay, cast upgrade, maybe you want to do it, but the new AI webinar. So I can actually assess, this is a risk assessment, where I'll put in this new hotel to some risk, and the webinar here, it have a low risk. This way I will assess different ideas. And once the idea has been evaluated against each other, it will be possible to click it, to go on and say, okay, now you are 3-star rating. I will now finalize the evaluation of my ideas against other. And I will go down and I will say, please create a project for me. So this project should now be created because the portfolio has actually accepted it. And at the same time, as you see, it has now created a new AI webinar as a project. If I click it, I will jump directly out of the idea box and into my project lifecycle. So that's where we start handing it over to Jacob as a project manager. Before, I was an employee with a great idea. I was a portfolio manager evaluating ideas coming into my portfolio. So now we're going to assign, in this case, Peter as a project manager to the project. But we want to let Peter be assisted by AI. So one of the use cases we could do now is that, as you see here, I could analyze and suggest based on lessons learned. So I'm a new project manager. I've been in this company only for about 3 weeks. What do I know? I just got my certification from PMI, so I know how to run a project. I don't have that great experience, but I really want to learn about what's happening in the company with projects of a similar flavor. So with less than this 1 minute, we will create a lesson learned and a suggestion for this project. It will read from documents that could again be PDF. Let's say that in the future, you make a lessons learned for each project. We store that in the PDF document, or we store it directly in the PPM system if you have had it from the start. What you see now is that, just zoom a little down, zoom a little in. Here, it will now start come up with different proposals and lessons learned based on the flavor of that description I put in my idea description. Where does this information come from? Well, I'll just show you here in the menu, lessons learned. In here, I have a register where I put in lessons learned. So just imagine every time you finalize a project, the project managers are asked to do a lessons learned, and they could put in lessons learned in here in the digital library. It could be categorized with different segments, and actually the lessons learned AI is just learning from these attributes here. So it's actually protected data. It's on the Microsoft cloud, and I should not be afraid of those lessons going out of my company. Now, let's go back to the project. Well, now I know, at least with the lessons learned, where to focus and to make an even greater project. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to kick in a project schedule. So I'm in pipeline right now, and maybe I will be forced to put in a high-level benefit for the project manager, so the project manager somehow will commit it. I will put in a start for my project, and I'll also put in an end date for my project. Well, my project goes on to a gate decision, and before I can actually continue from this gate, I need to do a project planning. Well, in project planning, there are different ways to do it. I'm going to show you an AI-driven project schedule. Of course, I could also use a template. So what you see here is that I have different options. I could start from scratch, I could start from AI, or I could choose predefined templates. So they could already be predefined. But for today's session, I'm going to create a project schedule for a new webinar about AI. Use the PMI methodology from the PIM book, use stages and phases, starting now, whatever, I will prompt it. In this case, I use, again, OpenAI because I want to have inspiration from outside. It's, again, a design choice. I could make it on the last 20 projects I've created in my company. Then it will still be unsecure. Then we will use Azure AI technology on our own datasets. But in less than 1 minute, hopefully I've prompted right. And maybe I've been on LinkedIn for some weeks. You can see you can be prompt master out there. The same goes on. The better you prompt, the better you describe, the better output you also will get. The most important part of it is that once it creates a project schedule, it also comes, and I'll just make it collapsed like this: initiating, planning, execution, closing. In initiation, identify needs for a webinar, define objectives, hold kickoff meeting. So it actually also comes with a duration. So even the duration has been assessed to 5 days, 3 days. There's a milestone here. So in this case, I could also start replanning it. I could, of course, as a project manager, make dependencies, whatever I need to do as a project manager. But the great thing here is that I was actually kicking the entire project in with a template, AI driven. So this could be a great way to work with the AI schedules. Now, let's talk about risk management for a second. Risk management is also a creative process. I need to think of the risk before I can actually handle them, right? And that could sometimes be difficult. I could look into my internal risk register in my company, but I could also learn from outside. So right now you see the risk register is pretty empty. Now let's fill in some risk data. For the sake of the demo, I will choose a large template because I have a great AI use case where I could actually import risks from my last Microsoft Teams discussion with Malik, right? So imagine that Malik and me, we had a team meeting, the 29th, and this is, by the way, actually my Microsoft Team calendar. I will choose the meeting that Maya Malik had around this topic. It will read through the transcription of what Malik told, what Jacob told, and it will identify 4 risks that we discussed. Of course, I could say, hey, I don't like this one. I could say I add it. We also discuss some changes, and we also discuss some tasks. So in the future, Malik, you need to be careful, because if you propose a task in a meeting, it will automatically come into my project schedule, and you will be the owner of the task. So that is maybe the negative side of this. But let's just import it. By importing those risks from the transcription, I can now go to my risk module. I could look in here, and now you see I have 4 risks populated in my risk register. It came with a probability and impact assessment. I could drag them around, rearrange them, whatever, so that I can handle my risks in this matrix. So I could also say, okay, I also want to add some risks that are AI generated. So I could go in and say, create 10 risks for executing a webinar with a topic of AI, create. Again, in this use case, I use OpenAI. I will get inspiration from outside. What can go wrong if I'm going to do an AI webinar? And I'm going to import those 10 risks into my risk register. Again, design choice, I could also let them go on the entire risk register for the entire company, so that I learn from other internal projects. And what you see now is that I certainly have now poor audio quality, pending recession. That was the one from the meeting. Direct, I can drag them around and I can handle my risks. All nice AI driven. If I don't like them, of course, I could hit the button and I could start delete them. Now, we also want to do a status report for my project, because as a project manager, I now and then need to create reports for my steering committee. So today's date, please write an AI summary. I believe as a project manager, everything is read. So I will set the KPIs, but I want to have the AI to generate the summary for the project. Then, of course, I could add a new status report. We are now 1 week later. Everything is yellow. The last month or last report was all red. I will now start collecting all my risk. If I open up one of those reports, you will now see, based on the data, and I know this project has less data, they will not really budget actual cost yet, there are no progress. Then it will start write for me proposal that I, in my status summary, that actually I can start use. Typically, what we see is that the project managers, they really like to have PowerPoint automatic generated. I'll just choose a project with a lot of nice data because that makes the PowerPoint more nice. But you could see that I can go into a project. I can go to my KPI status report. In this project, I have a lot of KPI. I can hit the PowerPoint button. And in PowerPoint, I can choose my company template with AI, generate a report. What the system does now is that based on the data, it writes an AI summary of the project. It takes all data from the project, put it into your PowerPoint in your company's colors format. So if you have a 1-pager of 4 or 9 pages, is it usually, then it will actually create all ready for you. It will download it to your desktop computer. So I'll be prompted here that I can download it, and it will also at the same time store in Microsoft Teams so that the project team can read it. Now I will open up on my desktop computer. In my desktop computer, I will now have the project status report. I can run in presentation mode. And now with today's date, I can now, see the project performance. I can see AI analysis going on here on the left side, and I'll have different slides with the different risks, etc. Cost, whatever kind of slides. Just a few clicks away. So this makes it really easy. I think you should read the AI summary for a project before you're sending to a steering committee, but that's just a good advice. Okay, now I will go back to our project here. And what we have left is that we could go to the portfolio level, because as we remember, this project here, it was actually linked to the portfolio, or it was not, but now I will link it in here to the 24-25 portfolio. Save. If this project is linked to the portfolio, I can go into the portfolio. I can go to the AI summary. This is the AI summary for the portfolio. So based on those, might be 20, 40, 50 projects, I can make AI do an analysis of the entire portfolio and come up with actually a suggestion. There might be, as you see here, issues: accelerated product development is at risk, mitigate action, increased resource allocation, streamline development process. It actually comes up with suggestion for me as a portfolio manager to handle all the projects that you have in here. And just to remind you, this portfolio is a huge portfolio with a lot of projects, so it might be somehow hard sometimes to get the overview. And here AI could actually help you actually do it. Now, the project, and just to close out where we ended, I can link my project to the key result. And earlier today, we created a webinar where we had those 100 participants more. That was not done. I'll just take that for the purpose. The strategy we created, if I link my project to that, it will actually bring up the progress from my project to that strategy. And then I can see if my strategy will be fulfilled. And I think with the time available and 7 minutes for some Q&A, I know it's pretty fast, many things to absorb, but I think you get an idea that being project managers in the future might just be more fun. Don't be afraid of it. It's just to find those use cases where it actually helps you as a project manager. And I believe the creativity part is a great thing here. So thank you for listening in, and let's take some Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jacob. That was interesting. I remember 10 years ago, or it was the most interesting part about PPM demo was Power BI, right? It was like the chair on the top, and now we have this, and Power BI fortunately just goes to the background. So anyway, so folks, just before I hand over to Dan for the Q&A, the next slide. So if you would like to get in touch for a free one-on-one process review, learn how AI can help your organization boost your product outcomes, please reach out to us. Add that reference in your email to our team, and we will schedule some quick chat and we can have a conversation with yourself on that. So with that, back to you, Daniel, and you can look after some Q&A if there's any.
Yep, there is a couple there. Look, thank you, Malik, and thank you, Jacob. I thought that was a very interesting discussion there, and a great oversight. Personally, I learned quite a bit watching through that, so that was great. Thanks for that. We have a couple of questions here. One from James. As you use the system, does the system adapt over time to account for your individual preference/business processes? Probably direct that to yourself, Jacob.
Yeah, it's a big question. The short answer is yes. And it's all about also the data and how we set up the AI behind. Because the great thing here is that AI, now we started by listening into ChatGPT engine 4.0 turbo, these kind of engines behind. They are getting smarter and smarter every day, right? I think this week, both Google launches the new learning model. I know Microsoft will launch a new one. Those engines are getting more and more clever. So they take also personal preferences into account. You know it from OpenAI, when you start chatting, it actually learns from the chat that you have. So you could ask questions about earlier questions in the chat. It's actually a personal preference, right? So it will actually, it's a real-time learning model going on there. So you will just see it more and more. I know that Microsoft will release in Microsoft Teams voice recognition. So if we are all discussing in a team right now, it could recognize Jacob's voice, even if we are sitting on the same microphone in a room. So it will know Jacob told this risk. So it will now be a personal preference for Jacob about that risk. We could actually read the mood of Jacob. Was he angry when he said it? And that could all be put into a risk strategy of that Jacob is the owner and he's very angry. So the probability is probably low, but the impact is very high because he will be an angry stakeholder, right? So if we have that data in our data set, just imagine what we could say is a Jacob an angry project participant, then I have some answers for it, right? So it's also about to find the limit of when and how personalized should it be, right? Should I actually be allowed to ask about project participant mood, causing stress, not stress, those kind of discussions. So it's also about, I believe that the models will be so personal preferences in the future. I just think we have a discussion about what do we actually allow in our companies.
But just on that, also, like, your company policy will play a big part of this as well. So, you know, are we opening a one-way channel where we're just getting information? So we're not really telling the model anything about our data or information. So it really wouldn't learn anything from your preferences. So it's a big topic, as you said.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next question here. Is there a minimum number of users for an enterprise Microsoft Bing Copilot license?
Big question. Who does actually know? It was a little funny because Microsoft started out by having Copilot Enterprise and say you need 300 licenses as a minimum. I know I'm not a license expert for Microsoft. I know it's not that anymore. So you could actually have it on a lower individual basis. I know in Projectum, our company, we are 50 employees, and I know we bought 30 licenses that we are using amongst the 50 employees. So you can actually go down. The licenses is also divided into different business applications. So you could have Copilot for sales. You can have Copilot for Office 365. I think it's called M365 Copilot something. So the license model have changed pretty much the last 3 months. So yes, you can get it for on an individual level. I think at that point it was maybe $30 per user.
Copilot to the rescue here. The limit, the 300 seat minimum was removed in January 15th, 2024. So now you can start from one license, so one user, one seat. Yeah.
That's great. And it looks like we have one last question here. Any capacity management or budget management use cases, please? You might have an example.
Yeah. So we don't, what you saw today is 9 use cases we have, so to speak, prototyped and put into the PPM system because you actually can configure them very individual. So if you ask about the finance one, I cannot show it, but right now we are running a lot of, we call them AI booster workshops. So we're actually coming out to companies and saying, like you saw today, this is the technology it can do. So what are your use cases? And I know from a lot of clients we have been working with, there's a lot of the finance use cases also. So could you, with an S-curve, distribute money for my business case on the OPEX, CAPEX kind of, right? Then it actually distribute those finance number into the finance module of Power PPM. So I know the use cases out there, and I think that's the good question or answer to the question is, it's a great use case. And probably it will only take 2 days to build it because the technology is there. And that's what we do in those AI booster workshops, right? Where we take those customers' use cases and build them so that they can play around with them, 2 days later.
That's great. Thanks for that, Jacob. It looks like that kind of wraps up our questions, and I am conscious of everyone's time as we are on people's lunch breaks typically here. Look, I found that very informative myself. I think it's definitely transformed the way project management is held as we go forward as an occupation. I think it's ever evolving, but in particular now with the introduction of AI and all these technologies, I think it's quite an eye opener to where things are going. So really appreciate your time, Jacob and Malik. Thank you very much for the lovely presentation there. I'm sure people will get in touch. We will download this recording and upload it to a shared link to everyone that has attended. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate that, and we'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time.